Hi, welcome. I'm going to do the last page of the review, which is page 40, so go ahead and open up to that, or you're probably already working on it. I would pause, fill out these 8 questions, and then come back and check your answers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to highlight all of my sides that are going to be equations for me, and then I'm going to work them out from there. So I'm going to label all of my general forms for my 30, 60, 90, my 45, 45, 90, and I'm going to start with my equation. Just doing problem 6 and 7, which were really similar to this, I started this way, so I know my general form, and then whatever my equation is, I start solving it that way, and I solve for my x immediately and go from there. So go ahead and fill out yours. I'm going to divide both sides here by root 3. Rationalize my denominator. I end up with 6 root 3 over 3, which is going to be 2 root 3. So when I solve for my x, I end up with 2 root 3, which is a. And to go from my shorter leg to my hypotenuse, I need to multiply by 2. Multiplying by 2, I'm going to get 4 root 3. Over here, I start on this one. I'm going to divide both sides by 2 to get my x. So I'm going to get x is equal to root 30. Well, to get from my shorter leg to my longer leg, I multiply by root 3. So 30 times 3 is going to give me root 90, which will be 9 times 10, or 3 root 10. So my x is root 30, which is b. My d is going to be 3 root 10. The ones over here, well, if I know x is root 22, f has to be root 22 as well. I'm going to multiply both of those by root 2. So 22 times 2 is going to be root 44, which is 4 times 11, or 2 root 11. We're going to get 2 root 11. I think these are the ones we did in class the other day, aren't they? They're the exact same ones. So hopefully you guys are practicing them though and not going back and looking at answers. You're working them out, practicing the steps again. Here I'm going to divide both sides by root 2. And then I'm going to have to rationalize the denominator. I don't have a lot of room. So I have 14 root 2 over 2, which means I'm going to get 7 root 2 here and there, because they have to be the same. And there we go. So hopefully you guys have been practicing those, setting them up. Mr. Christensen may explain it differently than I do. Whichever method works the best for you, grab onto that and use that. Okay, so now we're going to go to our trigonometric ratios. SOHCAHTOA is the most common. Again, every time I start, off to the side, I would write Oscar had a hunk of apples, sweet caramel topping, so I know which ones I'm looking for. Let's start here with D. So I'm starting from D, which is the same right here. So from D, I want to know opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So opposite of D is going to be 14. Hypotenuse will be 50. Pause and fill these out. I'm going to simplify as well. You could write just all the simplified answers if you want. If I divide by 2, I'm going to get 7 over 25. Cosine adjacent will be 48 over 50, which is 24 over 25. Tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent, 14 over 48. Which will be 7 over 24. Okay, the other side is going to be E. We want to do all the same right here for E. So from E, I want sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite of E is going to be 48 over 50. I'm just going to reduce that to begin with, and I'm going to write 24 over 25. Cosine is going to be adjacent of E is 14 over 50, or 7 over 25. Tangent is going to be opposite over adjacent, 48 over 14, or 24 over 7. 24 over 7. Now what I always think is interesting is when you are finding the trig functions of opposite angles here, sine of D and cosine of E have to match. Cosine of D and sine of E will match, and your tangents will be reciprocals. Okay, now I want you to find the angle measure of D. Remember, when we're looking for the angle measure, we need to use the inverse function. So you need to pick a function. You can use sine, cosine, or tangent here. It really isn't going to matter because they gave you all three. Generally, if we want you to use a certain one, we're going to lead you or kind of tell you which one to pick. In this case, it doesn't really matter. Let's say tangent would have the smaller letters. So let's go ahead and do tangent of D. Remember that tangent of D is equal to 7 over 24. So if I'm looking for D, I'm going to look for inverse tangent of 7 over 24. Now, what I think is, and so this is going to be your answer, plug it in, figure out the angle measure. What I think is really interesting is that you would get the same one with any one you pick. Let's say we did sine, and sine of D is 7 over 25. So you would do inverse sine would be inverse sine of 7/25. Or you could do inverse cosine of 24/25. All three of those are going to give you the exact same answer. And I plugged it in right before we started our notes, and you can kind of see that what every single one gave me 16.26. That one's a little bit different. Which, that's weird. But they should be pretty spot on. It's close enough for anything, really. It is pretty close. So, doesn't matter which one, you can choose, and it's going to tell you it's approximately 16.3 degrees. So, there we go. Go ahead and pause, set up the next one, draw a triangle, and start setting it up. So you should draw a picture something like this. You're 100 feet from the building, you're looking up at a 78-degree angle, you measure an angle of elevation of 78 degrees. What function are you going to use? You have to decide, is it sine, cosine, or tangent? From 78, we are looking for the opposite, and we have the adjacent. Opposite adjacent, Oscar had a hunk of apples, is going to be tangent. Hopefully everybody got tangent here. Tangent of 78 degrees is going to equal opposite h over adjacent 100. It's always nice when the variable's on the top. It just makes it a little bit nicer. Multiply both sides by 100. We're going to get h is equal to 100 times tangent of 78. Now what's really nice is this is your answer. You are done. But if you want to practice in your calculator, you can. And you should get approximately 470.5 feet. Go ahead and set up and do the same for the next one. Okay, this time, what function are we going to use? From this angle, we have opposite, and we have hypotenuse. Oscar had, that's going to be my sine. Sine of 3.5 degrees equals opposite 12 over hypotenuse x. Now when the variable's on the bottom, remember you multiply both sides by x, and then you're going to divide both sides by sine of 3.5. So x is equal to 12 divided by sine of 3.5. Again, this is your answer, but you want to make sure you know how to use your calculators as well. Plug that in, you should get approximately 196 0.6 feet. Now, this little one, this is just for fun, because we're usually around Valentine's Day when we're doing our notes here. And if there's somebody you're interested in and you want to send them a message, say, hey, text them, simplify this. Simplify it before I tell you the answer. Right? They should respond back, you know. Aw, and then you would say, oh. Aw, right? And if they can't respond, then maybe they're not the one for you if they can't simplify that. So anyway, have a fabulous day. See you next time. And have a fabulous day. Good luck.